So let's have a look at modes of population growth. Now, this is only one of a number of videos that I've made about population ecology, so please make sure you check out them all. So the syllabus objective here is to be able to identify and explain the different modes of population growth, including exponential growth, which is a J curve, and logistic growth, which is the S curve. So this is what they look like in terms of why it's called a J curve and an S curve. Exponential growth, you can see it starts off as a very slow increase in population size or growth rate, but then it increases exponentially. So the rate increases to become very rapid, and that is exponential growth, and it looks like a J. Logistic growth starts in that same way in terms of being exponential at the start. However, when the population starts to get to a number where it's close to the carrying capacity, you see that the rate of population growth slows down, and that has an S shape, and we call that logistic growth. So with the exponential growth, this is where we have growth under ideal conditions when we've got unlimited resources. So there's no competition and the population can just rapidly increase. We often see this type of growth with our R strategists. So I've got another video on the reproductive strategists, R strategists and K strategists. Have a look at that. So we see a rate of population growth that increases exponentially. Now, a good way to think about that is when we have reproduction of bacteria. Bacteria reproduce through binary fission, so splitting in half every 20 minutes. So we start with 1, 20 minutes later we have 2, 20 minutes later we have 4, and then 8, and then 16. And if we were to continue like that for a whole day, we have something like 1 to the power of 24 bacteria. So it's absolutely ridiculous, and that's exponential. It starts slow, but then it increases. With an example with the bacteria is every 20 minutes the population doubles. Or if you think about something like rabbits, they reproduce fairly quickly and they reach sexual maturity very quickly, and so therefore those offspring are then able to have offspring as well. So, we get this exponential, very, very rapid growth once it really gets going. Now, the thing is that exponential growth doesn't continue forever, except probably for humans. Now, that's another story. Every other species, you just don't see exponential growth go forever. Normally what happens is, there's one of two things that happens. One thing is we go from a boom to a bust. And this is what happens with our R-selected species, like our rabbits and our rodents and our rats. They have a really rapid reproductive rate, and that when there's no competition, they get in and reproduce really quickly. But then we have a bust. So the conditions are not favourable anymore, introducing a pest or a competitor, or introducing a predator, a competitor. It's not enough room, whatever, no food left, and so the population then busts. So it's an exponential growth and a very rapid bust. And you can often see this in a cycle of booms and busts. And we often see that with the strategists. So that's one option with where we see where the exponential growth booms and then busts. But the other option becomes logistic growth. This is where we have a different type of strategy, a different type of organism. This is the one that tends to oscillate around this thing called carrying capacity. Now, I'm going to define carrying capacity in a moment, but what we see here is it starts like exponential growth, then it slows as the resources become limited. Growth slows as it reaches the carrying capacity. So it looks like an S, and we call that logistic growth. And what we see is that it then oscillates around the carrying capacity. So these are all different types of growth curves that we can describe. We saw exponential growth, first of all, where there's no competition, the population increases rapidly with a high growth rate. But we saw that can end in two ways. One is following a boom, you get a bust, and we see that with the R strategists. Or it could be logistic growth, where it slows, the population growth rate slows as it gets to the carrying capacity, and then tends to oscillate around that point. And we tend to see that more with our K strategists.